So let's go to code. Yeah. So as we were discussing yesterday, so we can have if only if also being there, only elif also being sorry, only if can be there, if can be with
Mm-hmm.
else, or if can be with elif, and it could be with multiple elifs as well. So it can have more than two choices, three choices, or n number of choices. And
So,
sorry.
I have a question like else
Mhm.
cannot be a multiple.
No, else is like the default option. If nothing else works, do this kind
So
of
last
option.
option, okay.
Yeah, it is the default option. Like, yeah, if nothing else, do this kind of situation. So, it is the option which, if you have a default option, then only you will use else. Otherwise, you will not
Mm-hmm.
use else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, okay, there's one thing I didn't discuss about writing code, but I think which you are aware of is the part about. Let me just write it up. So it's the part about uh, indentation. So in our
Mm-hmm.
Python code, if we go from top to bottom, this will be at a
Mm-hmm.
certain level. Okay. Then, like if you're writing codes here, that is at a level one or level, the certain level. If you want to go inside it, like here,
Mm-hmm.
then you write it a bit offset. You indent it, you go inside,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to go inside here again, you'll write again in a 4 offset. So you'll have offset which kind of defines what is your level of code in older programming languages like C and Java. Not older, it's other programming languages, you don't need to actually give the spacing kind of thing, but you can only use flower brackets as your start and end of block of code.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for example, if you are writing if in C, if something, then you'll say bracket open, number of lines, and then bracket close. This will tell
Mm-hmm.
within whatever is there within this brackets, you have to execute only if it is uh, if the condition here is true. Condition if it is true, only then execute these lines. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
for the case of Python, we don't use this because this, as you keep writing larger and larger pieces of code, if you go multiple levels, it will become too confusing where your bracket starts,
Yeah.
where your bracket ends, and all that. So there is a different way of doing it. That is indentation. So indentation simplifies that you don't have to have a starting bracket and ending bracket and all that. Syntaxing is not necessary, but and you'll also easily be able to identify which level you are writing your code in. So if we go back to VS Code and see
Mm-hmm.
here, right now here you see these two lines are indented generally for generally indentation of one level is it's not necessary that it has to be, but it is generally taken as four spaces. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine inside if I have to have some other if, let's say for example, if again if something two, okay, then that indentation will go two levels deep.
Okay.
So what this means is what these, okay, let me take a screenshot of this and paste it in my note, OneNote, and let me erase everything here. Um, so what will happen is once you are let's take this lines of code. Okay, so this is your zero level indentation location. As you can see, so
Uh-huh.
everything at this level, the level that you see here,
Mm-hmm.
everything at this level, will- everything at this level will run only inside the if statement. So if this something, if this is true, then
Mm-hmm.
this line would run. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this block would run. Okay, this block would run, and then this line would run, and then this line would run. For this block to run, it again has another condition here. If this is true, then only this line will run. If it is false, then this line won't run. But basically, this line has run, then it will go to these lines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you understood, right? So indentation
Yeah.
is very important in Python. So there are cases when people by mistake give additional spaces or less space, and that would throw errors and it will become a big headache.
Okay. Do we need to give a colon to give an indentation?
Yes. So that
Indentation,
was the
right?
next thing. So anytime you generally give an indentation, most likely the line before that starts with a colon.
Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing, like as you said, like after if you can use else, elif.
Mm-hmm.
So, so why did we give after if one more if, like
Where did I give?
first if you gave, right?
No, this. Okay. So this will run. The something two will run only when this is true. So when this is true, then I have to run this code.
No,
But
in place of if we cannot give elif.
no,
That's what I
because
mean.
this something two has to run only when this something is true. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine in the case of cricket, um, like yesterday's example, let's take a case where let's take a case where if my team
Mm-hmm.
is batting, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then do something. If my team is bowling, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then do actually in this case you don't need to do elif because you can do only batting or bowling. But let's take a weird case where else my team is not playing. Basically, this means that my team is not playing kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so then you will execute some code. So when you are batting, only then I have to check if there are two players on field.
Okay.
So this you will do only when you are batting. So this will run only if it is batting. That is where you have to go inside and write. If you write elif, that means your
Okay.
team is not batting. Then you are checking if two players. So that is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you understood, right?
So we can't use like if my team is batting, elif two players is on field. No, we can't use
No,
that,
that
right?
that means you are checking if your team is batting. If that is your team is not batting, you are checking if two players on field. So why is that necessary? There's logically that doesn't make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your
Gotcha.
team, there will be only two players on field when you are batting. Otherwise, all 11 players will be on field. So logically, only when your team is batting, you have to check if two players on field, or you have to ask another player to go like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this condition will be running only in the case this is running.
Mm-hmm. So in that if also we can get subdivision like
Yes, yes.
elif.
Here also you can get elif. Here else
Okay.
everything. For this if is as good as this if. So anything you get here, you can get there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got it.
these are called as nested ifs or nested something. So it's
Yeah, nested
inside
if.
something. Okay. So you
Yeah.
understood, right? Why this is
Yeah, I
different from
got
this
it.
elif. This will run, though it will go and check elif only if it's false. If it is true, always it will not even it'll skip this entire thing. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter what is there from here till until else, it will skip everything. Only when this is false. Okay, it will
Mm-hmm.
go check the next thing. If the next thing is elif, it will check if it is true or false again here. If it is true,
Mm-hmm.
then it will run what is inside. If it is false, then it will go skip this and go here next. Because here it
Mm-hmm.
is else, it will directly go inside and run. It will not check anything.
Okay.
Okay, so by
Mm-hmm.
if elif, you're, what you're doing is you're basically switching places where how you want to your code to run. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so like example, um, let's take a simple example of programming a tic-tac-toe game. Okay, somehow let's
Mm-hmm.
assume you have written a board. Okay, so think in terms of flowchart. You have made a board available. Okay, This is your
Mm-hmm.
tic-tac-toe game. You have a board available. So you have two players, player one and player two. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now player
Mm-hmm.
one, he is playing. So first what you have to do is check, is player one playing?
Mm-hmm.
One playing. Okay. Or you have to check in terms of text. If I want to write, I'll have to write it like this. I'll have to write it. If player one is equal to playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then what you have to do? Get input. So get input from player one,
Player one.
from P1 computer. Okay.
So when you are saying equals to so you need to put double equals if it
Yes,
is
when you're
equal.
checking equals to, when you're doing something called as what do you call check logical operator. So you are not signing something, you are checking something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in those cases you will do double equal to. You will not put single
Okay.
equal to. Single equal to means assigning. You are saying take this value, put it inside this. If you put single equal to, that is not the case right here.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Okay, okay, okay.
else, actually in this case, since there are only two players, you'll say else get from P2. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that is what you will do. But you can, if necessary, if you want, you can write else if P2 is equals to playing. You can write like this. Get from equal to, and then else is do nothing or something, or do something like this. You can write. So this
Mm-hmm.
is how you are
Else game
switching
over like
between
that.
cases
Okay.
or something, anything. I mean, depending on how you want to write your logic, you can write that.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
so this
Mhm.
in flowchart, if you have to see, this basically gives you a decision boundary, and you can have as many choices as you want from here. So if there are only two choices, it is a simple if else. Okay, then if there are like three choices or more, then there are if else if kind of thing. Okay, so that is how
Mhm.
if else helps you telling which lines to run next. Okay, then
Mhm.
there is something called as loops. There are two major kinds of loops. The first type of loop is called as while loop. The second type of loop is called as for loop. Actually,
Mhm.
for loop itself, I think, is written in while loop, if I am not wrong. At least it was written previously. I don't know if in later versions they have changed it, but for loop itself is written in while loop. So while is the actual like the basic loop. So while condition, okay,
Mhm.
do something. Okay, so this is how it will
Okay.
be, and you have to inside do something. You have to have some kind of counter. You have to define. So generally, what is this condition? This condition will say set something to be true or false. Okay. For example,
Mhm.
I can write if I want to see if any student is available in class, I'll have to teach the class. Otherwise, I'll not teach the class. Okay.
Mhm.
That is if else. But imagine I'm not using if else. Okay. Some other use case of while loop could be. Um,
So we can
uh,
use either while loop or if else.
No, no, if else is different. If else is a conditional loop, while else is conditions. It is not loop. If else is a loop, sorry, while is a loop. In while, what you will do is, while you will have a condition. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, for example, let's take a value I. Let's take a variable I. Okay. Let's assign its value to be 0. Okay. While
Mhm.
in while, I'll write a condition called while I is while I is less than or equal to 4. Okay, colon.
Mhm.
What I have to do is print print I, for example, and then I'll say I is equals to I plus 1. Okay. Okay. For now, what we'll do is we'll assume this line is not there. Okay. For now, let's assume this line is not there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You only have the other lines. So what will happen? First time you'll check I is less than 4. What is the value of I? 0. 0 is less than or
Mm-hmm.
equal to 4. Yes. Correct,
Zero
right?
is less than, yes,
So this is true. Then what you will do? Print I. You will print I. What is the value of I? 0.
0.
Okay. Then what you will do? Since it is a loop, after this line, you will go back to while line, where the while line is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, you will check, is 0 less than 4? True. Again, print. Again, you'll check. Again, print. Again, you'll check. So this will run for infinity. So until your system stops or you stop the Python program, this will keep running. So for while
Mm-hmm.
loop, you need to have a
So it's kind
counter.
of loop, right, running.
Yes, yes, it is a loop. So anything
Mm-hmm.
that you define in while, it will run until that condition becomes false.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here what happens is now this is the case. First it will run this line. Okay. Okay.
So
Let's
here
assume
also you need to give a colon.
yes. Any kind of like thing. Yes, you'll give a colon where you indent. You'll generally give a colon the line before it.
So this is now print is intended, right?
Yes, it's inside. So this is
It's
zeroth
inside.
level. This is like inside. These two lines are
Okay.
inside. So that means that these two lines will run when I run a while loop. Okay, in one loop
Okay.
you'll run those two is what we are meaning. So what will happen
Mm-hmm.
now? First, when you are at this line, what is happening? Okay, so actually I have written it inside, but it is not intended. It is actually at the same level as while. So it will be I is
Right.
equals to 0. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I is equals to 0, when you run this line, what happens is in your memory you will set I is equals to 0.
Okay.
Okay. Now, then you will go to next line, top to down, as I said previously, top to down. So next line,
Yeah.
I less than or equal to 4. Here, what is the value of I? Substitute from memory. In memory, it is 0. So substitute
Mm-hmm.
0 less than or equals to 4. Is this true? Yes, true. If since
Yes.
it is true, it will go inside the loop and run. Okay, then it will say
Mm-hmm.
print I. So imagine this is your console where you print the values. Okay, here you will print the
Mm-hmm.
value of I. I is 0. So you'll print 0. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
this line has run. Then it will go to next line. It will say I is equals to I plus 1. I is 0 from memory. So you'll substitute here 0 plus 1, which is equals to 1. This one you will
Mm-hmm.
store in I. So basically what happens is in your memory, this will go out and here it will be 1 now. Okay.
Yeah.
Since it is the end of while loop, it will go back to top again here at while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now it will check is 1 less than or equals to 4? Yes. 1 less than or
Mm-hmm.
equals to 4 is true. So again it will
Mm-hmm.
run. So it will next line is print. So it will print to console 1. Then I is equals to I plus 1. So it will go here, rub this number in memory, overwrite this number in memory, and write it as 2 now because you're adding 1 to 1 here. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
0 plus 1, this is actually 1 plus 1. Right? So this will become 2. So you're substituting I is equals to 2. Now, third time you're running this loop. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2 less than or equals to 4 is true again. So here again you'll print 2 and here you'll add this, it will become 3. You'll substitute here, this will become 3. Okay. Now 3 less than or
Got it.
equals to 4, you'll run true. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then again you'll print 3 here, then you'll add here, it will become 4 and you'll save this as 4 now. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
4 less than or equals to 4, this is true. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will print 4 here, then you will do I is equals to I plus 1, this will become 5. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 5. Now you'll check 5 is less than or equals to 4. Is it true? False.
False.
So now you are exiting out of this loop. So you will not run these two lines. Then you will go to the next line directly, which is here.
Okay, it will come out of the indentation.
Yes, it will come out.
Mm-hmm.
So you understood, right? While loop,
Yes,
basically
got it.
what will happen, it will run as long as condition remains true, it will keep running. So
Mm-hmm.
you
I
have
need
to
to
ensure the
practice on that.
condition stops sometime. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
now let's go to code once. Let me go to code. So for example, I'll write a while loop. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
which I have written on paper there. I'll write I is equals to 0. Okay, while I less than equals to 4. Okay,
Is
colon,
it necessary like for the gaps and this I between gap between the less than
nothing
and
like that.
then
No, you can give
nothing?
after while you have to give space. Other than that, you don't need to actually. Okay,
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 after while
I, then I,
I is equals to I
I is
plus 1.
equals to I plus 1. Okay. So as I said, you'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 printed. Then it will stop.
Mm-hmm.
The loop
Mm-hmm.
will stop. Okay.
So
If
it
you,
will print it vertically.
yeah, basically print, I'll tell you, actually in this there is something called end, there's something called as end. The default value for it is this one. Okay. The default value for it is this one, because of which it will print every time in a new line. But I can make it print in a single line as well, like this, by changing this. So don't think about it. Basically, every time you run print, it will print in a new line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it
Mm-hmm.
is here, it's going to next line, printing it, next line, printing it. So it is printing in that manner.
Okay.
Okay. So imagine if I didn't give this condition, what will happen?
It will
It
move
will never
on.
stop. Okay. If I run
Yeah.
this, it will keep printing 0, and without stopping, it's running continuously as many number of
Mm-hmm.
times. Okay. So until I stopped that Python code itself, it didn't stop. So while loop has a chance of running out of memory. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to be careful when you are defining a condition in while loop that there is some time where the condition will become false. Otherwise, it will
Mm-hmm.
keep running in an infinite loop.
Mm-hmm.
You are clear on this?
Yes, got it.
Okay, so the next loop is called as for loop. For loop is similar to while loop, but in while loop you have to explicitly state the iterator. This thing is called as iterator or counter, where you keep counting what is happening. Okay, where you check something.
For I is equals to I plus 1, you can write like this also. I plus
Yes,
R
this is
equals
the
to 1.
short form of writing. So that basically means I is equals to I plus 1. So I
Mm-hmm.
plus 1. This is I plus 1. So this is the short form of writing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, if you remember, I told this to you on the first class itself. Okay. So for loop,
Mm-hmm.
the advantage is, for example, you can write anything, but the for loop for I in range of 10. Okay. Print I. So directly when you are defining a for loop, you are telling I should be within something. Okay.
So range is
Okay. Range is a function that will give you, basically you'll say range of 0. Okay. So let me give you the full form of it. 0 to 10, skip 1 every time. Okay, when I write this, basically it means it will start at 0, it will increment by 1 until it reaches 10.
mm-hmm.
Okay, if I give this as 2, what it means is start from 0,
Twice.
increase 2 every time until you reach 10. So the next thing should be 0, 2, 4, 6. That's all. Okay, so it's running this while loop. So let me comment this out. So see, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's all. 10 it will not be there
Mm-hmm.
because this number it will not reach it. It will reach just before that number.
Mm-hmm.
So range is a function that helps you write like uh, from 0 to 100, count from 0 to 100 if you want to write. This is the way you write it. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll say 0 to 100, step of 1. So that way you can count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until you reach 100, 99. 100 it won't count. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
basically it is counting 100 element but starting at 0. So it's 0 to 100, which is 99.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is what range is. In short form, because we don't every time, if you want to start from 0, you don't have to specify this. If you have to increment just by 1, you don't have to specify this because that is already predefined. Unless you want to change it to 2, then only you will have to uh, specify it. Otherwise, you don't need to specify it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So range is a function. I think the next topic is what we'll talk about functions. So every time
Mm-hmm.
when you write something, this block of code within which are intended. So this could be any lines that are indentation. Okay. You can run within for loop. So this all these lines are part of for loop. Okay, all these lines are part of for loop. Whichever are within indentation are within for loop. So this entire thing is one block of code which will run every time. This I is within this range. Why I said for loop is easy to use because imagine you have a list, okay, which we did yesterday. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you have this list li list abc 1 3 5 6 5 abc pqr. Okay, now you can directly say for I in list li, okay, what print I. If I say what it will do is it will print each line of that list directly. So if you see the list li, so here it is first what it will do is it will print the first element ABC. Then it will go to next element, print first one. Then it will go to next element, print three. Then it will go to five, print five. Then it will go to six, print six. Then it will go to five, print five. Then it will go to this dictionary, print that dictionary. So that is how you get
So,
this.
what is the difference between while and for loop?
You can write this in so same code if you have to write it in while loop. Okay, how you will write it to do the same thing. You can write almost everything in for, that is you write in for in while loop. As I said, for itself is written in while loop. Okay, while um I is less than length of li, print uh, print li of I. Okay, I is equals to I plus 1. Okay, and here you will have to write I is equals to 0. So this code that you see here is equal to the two lines of code that you see here. This code, this will do exactly same. If I run this, you'll get the same output. See, what you're saying is first set one variable called I is equals to 0, while the length of I, or the while the number I is less than the length of the list, always get the ith element of the list. So if it is 0, then get the 0th element, which is first element, print that. Then increase by 1, get the first element. Increase by 1, get the element. Increase by 1, get the element until you come up to 6. Because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you come up to 7, this condition will not be true because you are greater than the length of the list.
This len is the length, right?
Length, yes. It will tell you how
Length
many
of that
elements.
list.
Length means it will tell you how many elements are there within it. Okay, how many? What is the count of elements of this list?
Mm-hmm. And what about this one you have taken in the square bracket?
That is
Which one?
indexing, is what I have told yesterday, right?
Li.
This is indexing. Get the ith element of li. I is equals to whatever the value here, or when you add here the new value. So you can check this actually. Let's run in debugger. Okay. Okay, I think will this recording will stop in another 10 minutes. So if it stops, I'll just send you a new link. You can join there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me run this, debug this cell. Okay, run and debug. Okay, so here you can see right now, l- um, Okay, what I'll do is I'll stop this debugger. Um, Let me stop this debugger completely, interrupt. Okay, then clear, restart. Then what I'll do is I'll define this list separately, only this part. So it's easier for you to understand what is happening. Okay, so before this line, I'll put this. Okay, so uh, okay, so this debugger, what I'm doing is to help us understand what is happening inside a code. So first what happens is it comes to this line. Okay, it did not execute this line, it stopped here. Okay, you can see
Mm-hmm.
these are the variables that are all defined within the environment you are running here. So if I go to next line, so if I run this line, okay, that is the shortcut is F5. Okay, so if I press F5, it will run one line and go up until the next breakpoint. This red dot is called as breakpoint. So
Mm-hmm.
if I have to see how the code is working by debugging, because I'm getting some issue where I'm getting issue, I can use something called as Python debugger. This is the debugger. Okay, in that you can run line by line. After every line, you can stop and see what is happening. So let's look at
Mm-hmm.
the variables here. As soon as I run this line, you're getting a new variable called li, which is taken this value. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I run this line, you'll get a new variable called I, which is set to 0. Okay, I is equals to 0. Okay, when I run
Mm-hmm.
this line, what is happening is it's checking if this is true or false. Since it is true, it will go inside here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's inside. And here now it will run print li of I. Okay, it will print that value. And if you see in the output, ABC has come up. Now it'll you run this line. Basically, it will take the value of 0 from here, put it here. 0 plus 1 is equals to 1. Save it to I. So here you will see I is equals to 1 getting updated when you run. See it updated to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After this line, again it went back up. You can see it went back up. Again it will run this. It will go back up. It will run this. It will go back up until this I becomes greater than the length of list or
So I
equal to
have
the
one
length
more
of list.
question.
Yes.
This you have taken I is equals to 0. So
Hmm.
in place of I, we can take any other also.
Yes, you can take I, P, Q, whatever it is, or you can take temp variable, any name. This is a name that you are specifying. It could be anything.
Okay. So we need to change here also li.
Whatever you give here, that is, yeah, li of
I
temp
mean here.
variable.
Okay, like that.
So that is some name that I have given. It could be anything. It could be my name, your name, anything. Given that it follows the conditions. You remember I said it should start with a letter. It should not start with a number. It can have letters, numbers, capital letters. But other than that, it can have underscores. I think it can have dashes as well. No, it cannot have. Only underscores it can have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these are the ones. So you can have any small letters, it can have numbers within it, it can have capital letters, but it should always start with a letter. It cannot start with a
Mm-hmm.
number. That is the
Mm-hmm.
definition of any variable name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Got it.
so you are understanding what is happening here. It keeps running
Yeah.
this until this I becomes 5. Okay,
5. Okay.
once it goes there, it will stop.
So every time we should give them as a variable like first I is equals to 0, whatever it might be.
You can give like if you want only elements starting from here, so then give I is equals to 2. Because this 0 1 this is 2, so now the output will
Mm-hmm.
start v565 abc, that is the output. So I can, you'll get that output. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
something has happened while temp variable is less than length of I. Why is it running continuously?
2
So stop
plus
this.
1, 3.
Okay, the issue is here I said I is equals to I plus 1, here I said temp, so it is incrementing I, but temp it is not incrementing, so I have to change this to temp variable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I run this, it will do exactly as I said, 3565 ABC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how it would run. Um, I think we'll get disconnected in another 2 minutes. Is there any way which we can stop this disconnection from happening? Okay. Um, so okay, you understood, right? How this works.
Yeah.
Same thing if you have to run it in without giving so many lines, you can run 2 lines. That's all. It will do exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for loop is easier way of doing whatever you can do in while loop. So anything loops you can do in while loop. For loop you can do many things easily. Okay, especially iterating over a list or a
So instead of
data
using while
structure.
loop, we can use for loop too.
Most of the time, yes. Not always, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are some cases where you would prefer using a while loop, but especially the most generic cases when you are using loops are when you are iterating over some data structure like list, tuple, dictionaries. So you can use for instead of while in those cases because it's easier for you to loop
Mm-hmm.
and it will stop exactly once the length of this is completed. You don't have to explicitly say go until length, check the length and do this and all that. You don't have to say. It's easier for you here.
Yeah, for this I in.
Yes. So hopefully you are understood, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the next thing is something called as functions. So whatever you see here, print. Okay, we'll wait for 1 minute and then, or I'll stop this call. I'll start a
Mm-hmm.
new call and yeah. So hopefully you're able to see my screen. So now we'll start with functions. Okay. What
Mm-hmm.
is a function? So function is a block of code. Simply written, it is a block of code. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything, but basically it is a block of code. You can write any number of lines as a function. Okay. So you'll say, this is my function. This, when you call, it will do these things. Okay. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So imagine functions are like black boxes. Okay. This is a black box. Let's assume you don't know what is inside this. You give it some inputs. Okay. These are your inputs. And then it will give you an output sometimes, or it will give you an action. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, examples of functions. So, until now, we were writing some functions like print, len. Okay, it's taking capital, but it's all small. So, print, len, range. Okay. We didn't write few more, which are input. Then anything like in the format. So functions, how will they look? They will have text, okay, something. Then it will start with the bracket and close with the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for example, um, let's say there is a function called add. Okay. What it is doing internally for now, we'll leave it. So it will take two inputs. First input is A, second input is B. It will give you an output which is equals to A plus B. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's take another case of a function called print. Okay, print is the function. What it will do is it will take input, okay, and it will do an action. What it will do, it will print it to screen, print it to screen. Okay, that's all. This is the action it will do. It will not give you any output here. So it
Mm-hmm.
can give an output, or it can do some action, or it can do both. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why the concept of functions arises is there is a principle in programming called DRY, which stands for do not repeat yourself. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
meaning is don't repeat yourself. So if you have written a function to, let's say, write a calculator, so this will be your first homework example for all of you. Okay, to make a calculator. Okay, using all the
Mhm.
concepts that we have taught until now. Okay, so
Mhm.
we have to, let's say you have to make a calculator. What you do is you have to add something, subtract something, okay, multiply something or divide something. Okay, but every time you want to do this, you won't write. Every time you have to do this, you preferably will not write. So, for example, you have to do something let's say you have to add taxes, add GST in India or whatever tax is there in your case to the amount. Okay. So what you'll have to do, first you have to do is take amount, okay, multiply it by percentage tax, so 18% to get the value, then add it to amount. So amount is equals to amount plus tax, correct?
Mhm.
This is what you will do. So what you will do is you will set tax is equals to amount into 18%. Then amount is equals to amount plus tax is what you will do when
Mhm.
you have to write a function to do tax. So let me do that. This just do that thing in code and show you how you will write it. Okay. So for example, you have to write a function. So for defining something as a function, see function name and variable name, the only difference is, so for example, if I say, for example, calculate tax, okay, is equals to something, okay, for example, okay. Now this is a, so if I do type of a function, calculate tax, it says it is a string, okay. But if I have to use this calculate tax as a function instead of as a variable, I have to say def calculate tax, bracket open, bracket close, colon. So this line will say the next lines which are indented block are part of this function. So what I'll do is I'll say amount is equals to, sorry, tax is equals to.
Why did we use definition then?
So you're defining your function here, or amount is equals to amount plus tax. Okay, print tax. Okay, so if you remember when we go back to OneNote, I told this will take some inputs here. So it could be one. So the inputs can be zero inputs or 100 inputs or 1000 inputs or whatever it is. Okay, how will you give inputs to a function? So what is the syntax of writing a function? So if you have to see, if you have to define a function, when you are telling the Python what is a function, you have to write some standard way of writing. So the first thing what you will do is you'll say def. This basically says whatever comes after this is the name of the function. So this is name of function. Okay. Then you will say open bracket and say input one comma input 2 comma as many inputs as you need, close bracket, colon open, this is colon. So this is the first line you will write. So when Python reads this line, what it will say is, okay, whatever the code is from this, whenever it is inside this, indented inside, all of this entire thing is called as name of function, is what it will understand. Okay.
Mhm.
Understood? If you are getting confused, please stop me. This is one of the most important things you will learn. Okay. And you will, this will make your life so happy and easy if you understand this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, I'm getting confused, like step by step, how to use it, like to memorize the steps.
Not steps, it is simple. So whenever you are defining a function, okay, in code I'll show. Okay. Here you can see def calculate tax. I am saying, okay, here I am saying input one. Okay. Input one. Okay. This is what I said. So calculate tax will take one input. It will compute 18% on top of it.
So input
18%.
is like, we need to put it, right? We are
Yes.
taking from the.
Yes. So here instead of amount, you will say input one. Okay, this is how you will say. So this function, what is it doing? Okay, now if I run this line and then if I do type of this calculate tax, it says it is a function because this calculate tax is defined here using this definition. It says this is a function. So what will happen is in future, if you want to calculate, let's say, okay, let me just close this. You will not understand this. If you have to calculate tax for 100 rupees, let's say for 100, the tax is 18. Okay, or you can print this one instead of that. So the final value for 100 after tax addition is 118. You're understanding this?
I have one more question.
Yes.
Uh, as you took like define calculate tax of input one, right?
Hmm.
Then below that you have taken this tax.
Yes. That is a variable name I have given. This could be anything. This could be my name, your name. If they car, it could be anything here.
So
This
that's
is
not
just a
equal to
variable name.
this one, calculate tax.
No, that is different. This is a variable. Some variable I have given. This could be anything.
Okay.
You are confusing the name of the function and the name of variables. Okay. Those,
Yeah.
though the tips are similar because it's easy for me to understand. I can say here ABC. Okay. And it will work.
Mm,
But tomorrow, after 1 year, if you want to read this, what is this ABC? Why ABC here? You will get confused. So it is always suggested to give names in a mnemonic way, basically, which means you don't have to break your head to understand what it is. Okay. Even
mhm,
after 10 years, you come back and read the code, you should be able to tell this is happening here. Okay. Whatever I said here, anything could be here. So, but if I say this as tax, okay, then it's
mhm,
easy for me to understand. I'm computing the tax value by taking the input and multiplying it by 18%. Okay, it's easy
mhm,
for me to read. Or I can say, you can write it even more. Uh, okay, 18% tax value on input. You can write like this also if you want. Okay, it is even more clearer now. But this is too big to repeat 100 times or 1000 times. So we'll not do that.
mhm,
Simply
mhm.
I'll write tax. You
Input
can,
into 18.
yes.
Then you took input is equals to.
So input is basically the value that you get here. Okay. Inside this
Mhm,
bracket. So okay, let's go back to definitions. Some definitions of what is called. So this name of function that I have written here is the name of the function. Okay. It is what you
mhm,
will use to call the function. So remember when I'm
mhm,
saying call the function means when you are using the function. So it is like,
mhm,
um, what is the best way? Um, so you have a kid, okay? You have a kid.
mhm,
You will name your kid as something. Let's say Barry Allen based on Flash. Okay. The naming
mhm,
ceremony is the definition. Afterwards, in future,
mhm,
whenever you call him Barry Allen, that is you're calling him. But you are not naming him
mhm,
at that time. So calling the
mhm,
function. So first, what you'll do is you'll define the function. Always you have to define a function. Okay. Then you can call the function n number of times. You can call it 100 times, 1000 times, 10,000 times, or whatever it is. Okay.
mhm,
So when you are defining the function, there are some things you have to specify. So when you are defining, you have to say it starts with basically to tell that you are defining the function. Def is for define.
mhm,
This is the
mhm.
short form for define. Okay,
Okay.
define. Then the name. Then whatever is inside brackets are called as arguments. Okay, or in simple terms, they are called as parameters. In
Mhm,
more understandable terms, they are called as inputs.
mhm,
Okay, this could be 0 to n. Okay, every function in whoever is writing the function will define how many arguments something has to take. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I
Mm-hmm.
am writing the function, I'll say take no argument or take one argument or two arguments or how many arguments. And instead of saying one argument and two arguments, I'll say take argument called A, take argument called B, take argument called C.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can write very like PQR, ABC. I can write anything here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I write here, it is called as an argument. Basically, it is a variable name. Okay, you are defining this function will take four variables as input, for example. Okay, so if you have to now let's go back to VS Code once and let's write. Okay, if you have to write a function, just I'll write the first line for now. Okay, I'll not write the remaining lines. If you have to write a function to take uh four lines, four inputs. Okay, then you'll say def function name. Okay, and then you'll write input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4, and colon.
Mm-hmm.
So this will start the function. Okay, this is correct
Mm-hmm.
to give four inputs. You can give five inputs or zero inputs or any number of inputs. So let's give a function with zero inputs. Def function name. This is a function
Mm-hmm.
with zero inputs. It will not take any input.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or you can say def function name one input, input one. Okay, you can give any name here. This naming does not need to be input one. It can be ABC. It can be PQR. It can be anything similar to a variable naming convention. It has to follow. Okay.
Okay.
So now let's say I'm computing the GST on top of 18% GST I have to compute. So let's go back to this function now. Okay. First line, as I
Mm-hmm.
said, to define that function, I have to write def to say that
Mm-hmm.
everything after def is the expected function name after def. So it says after def,
Calculate GST.
okay,
Yeah.
calculate GST. Very good. Okay. Then
It's
this is
equals
the
to
function name. After that, you have to open and close bracket and colon.
bracket. Okay.
Okay, this is the standard.
Okay.
So to calculate GST, what you will take as input to calculate GST?
Mm-hmm.
The bill value, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say bill value, okay, or bill amount, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can also take tax rate also, 5%,
Mm-hmm.
18%, 28%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then what I'll say is, since now what happens is once you are inside the function block, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing here pass just so that I don't get that error unnecessarily. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when once I'm inside this block, these two are already defined for me because inside
Mm-hmm.
the block these two are defined, so I can use them. So as of now, these are not used. So they are, if you see, they are very dull colored blue. So as soon as I use them here inside this, it becomes bright colored blue. So that means it says this
Mm-hmm.
variable is used inside your code.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The syntaxing is
Mm-hmm.
given in VS Code and other IDEs to tell you which variables you have defined and use them and you not use them kind of thing. Okay. So what you will
Mm-hmm.
you do to calculate GST? What will you do? You'll take bill amount. Okay. Then
Mm-hmm.
multiply it by the tax rate. Okay. That is the tax value. Correct. Then what you will
Mm-hmm.
do is you will take that and you will add to the bill amount. So final amount is equals to bill amount plus
Plus
tax
tax
value.
value.
Correct. So
Mm.
what will you do with this final amount?
Print final amount.
Print final amount is doing an action. Basically, it is printing the final amount. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's say if I'll remove this pass for now. Okay. Very good, you have told. So now this what I have done here is called as defining. So here what I
Mm-hmm.
have done is defining a function. Now what I am doing is calling a function. Okay. So to call a function, what you will do is the name that you have given to that function. Calculate GST. Okay. Open bracket,
Mm-hmm.
close bracket. It'll for me it is already telling you have to give bill amount and tax rate as two inputs. If I don't give this inputs, it will say missing two required arguments, bill amount and tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I can say bill amount is 100. Okay. Tax rate is 5%. Okay. 5% is 5 divided by 100. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run this, it will print the final value as 105. Instead of 5%, if I want to give 18%, it will give 118. Or if I want to give 28%, it will give 128. Good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But this value I am calculating, I am printing and I am then deleting this. It is not stored anywhere right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I
It's
want to,
calculating through this defining a function, right?
yeah, in this it is calculating this. After calculating, it's printing to screen and then it is throwing it away. It is not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here what is happening is I told you it is doing an action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this it is only doing an action which is printing to screen because of this slide. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but there is something called as return. There is a key called as return. Generally,
Mm-hmm.
you will, irrespective of what you tell, if I don't write anything, for example, here print is written. Okay, and if I say print of calculate, okay, so here it says return is none. Okay. For now, what I'll do is I'll delete this line. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the GST value, taking the amount, tax rate, multiplying them, getting the tax value, adding both of them, putting it in final amount. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Clear on this? Okay. Now, if I instead of doing print inside, if I do print outside, it will okay, it will print
Mm-hmm.
as none because always if you don't give a return statement, the default return statement is return none. If you don't write anything, it
Mm-hmm.
will return none. Okay.
Okay.
So here you can see print none. Print it is printing. So what happens is it will first what it will do is inside the bracket whatever is there it will try to compute that. So what it will do is it will go here inside the bracket compute the this function. So what it will do is it will take this value 100. It will multiply it by 28 by 100. Whatever value it will get it will add it to 100. That entire value it will not do anything after that. Okay, then it will come outside this function and it will print. Okay, I hope you are understanding, you are not getting confused.
Mhm. Can you just repeat it again? I just got.
Okay, um let me come up with, okay, let me do this. Okay, okay, before that let me okay, fine, I'll do this, then I'll come there. Add a comma b, return a plus b. Okay, def subtract b comma c, return b minus c. Okay, let me take these two functions. Okay, so now if I say add, subtract, okay, 5 comma 3 comma 4, what will happen?
5 subtract 5 3
So
subtract
first what it will
BC.
do is so if you are Python interpreter, what you will do first, I'll show you. Okay, let's go to OneNote now. Okay, I'm pasting whatever I've copied here. Okay, now let me open a red ink pen and let me come here. Okay, so first you have defined this and defined this. Okay, this is defined. So first what
Yeah,
it will
that's
do is this line, it is the call function. It is calling add first. So what it will do is it will say add, subtract 5 comma 3 and 4. So your first A is equals to inside add here. Now it will go here and check. A is equals to subtract 5 comma 3. B is equals to 4. Okay. This is what it will do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next step is
Mm-hmm.
to return A plus B. But for A to be completely done, it has to do this function first. So what it will go is, it will go inside this function. Okay. Instead of B, let's assume this is D. Okay. For now, let's assume this is D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just so that you don't get confused. Let's assume this is D instead of B. So it will do subtract D minus C. Okay. D for Delhi, C for Calcutta or Chennai. Okay. So subtract
Mm-hmm.
5 comma 3, it will take that and it will say D is equals to 5, C is equals to 3, D minus C is equals to 2. Here I am saying return 2. So return this value I am saying. So return means send it outside the function. So what will happen is, when here I am saying A is equals to this function, this entire value it is returning 2. So this is substituted with 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If this return was not there, if it was nothing, here it will be none.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You understand?
Yeah.
Since I'm returning, so what it means is, see, within this function, I am running some lines of code. Finally, send this outside, is what I'm saying. That sending out is sent using this statement called return.
Mm-hmm.
Clear on why return?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have wrote return here, okay, it is able to let me just erase this entire thing. Because I wrote return here, it is able to bring this 2 outside. So after you do this computation, D minus C, okay, which is 5 minus 3 is equals to 2. This 2 you are able to send outside because return is written here. If return was not there, it will not send outside. Okay, once you came
Mm-hmm.
outside, it is waiting. Here actually A is equals to 2, B is equals to 4 is waiting to add. So 2 plus 4, it will be 6. This again return outside. So send it outside. 6, send outside is what it will do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you see right now,
Okay.
let's go to VS Code. I hope it will not confuse you. Okay. So if I do this,
Mm.
it will, okay, let me run this. So here it is, definition is not run. That is why it is unable to tell what it has to do. So here it is giving output 6. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is clear. So imagine I don't write return. Still I'm
Mm-hmm.
computing B minus C, but I'm not doing anything with it. Or let's say
Mm-hmm.
I'll do print. Print is taking an action. It is printing to screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So even if I do this, this will say type error, none type and int not supported. You cannot add none to int, because what is happening is, here
Yeah.
print it will do. It will print the value 2. 5 minus 3 it is printing. But it is not storing it anywhere. Okay. So if you go back
Mm-hmm.
to VS Code, sorry, OneNote, here if there was no return, okay, let's assume like how I have written, there is no return, there is just D minus C print. Okay. Print.
Mm-hmm.
So what it will do is, it will compute this 5 minus 3 is equals to 2, print the 2 to screen. After that, it will not do anything. It will return none here. It will say none.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is nothing that came out of the function. So what it will do is, it will try to do none minus n plus 4. Then it will say this and this are not addable. That is why it will throw an error saying I am unable to add. So here you can see unsupported type, operand type plus for none type and integer. I am unable to add none and integer is what it is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because here return is not there. It is default is return none. Okay. If you write print b minus c, then return b minus c, for example. So what here, both the things are happening. You are taking an action, then you are returning some value as well. So
Mm-hmm.
what will happen is, first it will run, it will print 2, then it will print 6. Okay. See, it print 2 first, then it prints 6.
Okay, okay. So return is the one to like to
Return will
continue that.
send outside. So Basically,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is happening inside this indentation, return will send it outside the indentation. So in cases where, like for example, this, now let's come back to earlier case. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here I have to return final amount. Okay, then only when I say final is equals to calculate GST, bill amount is 100 rupees, tax is 5%. Okay, then if I search what is final, it will say final is
So you don't
final
need
is
to write
105.
print final like that?
No, I mean in Jupyter you are getting what is this value here because this is Jupyter notebook. In actual Python file you'll not get anything. So imagine if I run this in the actual Python file. Okay, so let me show you. Actually Python file, because you are running in Jupyter, it's confusing. It might be confusing to you. Okay, same thing I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
in now I'm computing this value here. Okay, so if I run this, what will happen? What do you think will happen? So this is the terminal where it will run. So I'm pressing run. Okay, so this is file function run check something, some name I give. So it ran that, but it didn't do anything. See, it ran. After that, it came back normal because I didn't say to do any action here. I only when I tell it to do an action like print, it will do that print. Now if I run, it
Okay.
will print the value output. See here now it prints 105. Only when, that is
Mm-hmm.
why when I tell you in Jupyter Lab, it might seem that it's always showing the value to you, but it in actual files it won't show the value. So unless you do some action, you ask it to take
Action.
some
Okay.
action. Okay, print is an action actually. So return, it
Mm-hmm.
will return. So if return is not there, for example, okay, then if I print final, what do you think will it be? It will be
Mm,
none. See,
none.
it is none. It is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Only when there is a return, it will be able to save this amount outside the function. So after you
Mm-hmm.
do whatever you do inside the box, the value that comes out is listed in return.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hope you are
Okay.
able to understand this with clarity.
Mm-hmm. Instead of this final, we can also write grand total
Anything
and
you,
print
that is
grand
a
total.
name that you have given. You can write
No, I
whatever
mean
you
for
want.
this final. Okay. No, no, I mean
Acha,
for this final.
yes, yes, this is also a name that you are giving.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So, um, okay. So if I run this, see it is still coming 105 because I am printing the total here. Action I am doing. If I don't take an action, it will not do it. Or I can write the action inside here itself without outside. Okay. Then if I write like this, then it will first take an action, then it will do the return as well. Okay. Hello. It's the car. Hello.
Hello,
Yeah, you're able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So you are following what I said about functions?
Yes.
Okay. If the car is joining again. I think we'll close in another 6 minutes. This is running out of time as well. Okay.
Okay.
So, where is Iftikhar? How do I add him? Admit. Hello, Iftikhar?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
Sorry,
I'm
it
able
got
to hear.
exited.
Okay. Even
Okay.
I'll close in another 5 minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now I hope you understood what functions are. Okay.
Yeah.
So your entire thing, take, if necessary, take help of ChatGPT, but don't take help in the first iteration itself, and do some
Mm-hmm.
homework for me. Okay. So your homework, first one, write a calculator application. Okay. Second one,
Mm-hmm.
write a application that uh, adds, that divides a bill amongst friends. Okay. Third one. Okay. So
So should
the
I do that in Jupyter itself or?
wherever you want, you can do it in Python file, you can do it in Jupyter, you can do it in I mean, don't do it in shell, do it in either Python file like this or a Jupyter notebook like this. Either way, it's okay with me for now. Okay. Write an application that divides the bill amongst friends. Okay. Write an application that computes tax on the bill. Okay. Then write an application that computes tax and divides amongst friends. Okay. Once you write 2 and 3, you should be able to write 4 as well, because this is kind of
Actually,
combination
I'm
of 2
weak
and 3.
in tax and these things.
Fact is basically you'll add this. So you take a screenshot of this, or you can see this video. This is the formula for tax. It's already here. Your homework number 3 is already here. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. See, you can go wrong. I I I actually hope you go wrong, okay, and you make as many errors as possible. You are unable to do it first time right, okay. Make as many mistakes as possible. Try to find out in ChatGPT what is the mistake, okay. So, for
Actually,
example,
the issue is like, how to start the thing. That's the.
so as I said, make a flowchart first on paper if possible. So, what you can do is in your GitHub, I would suggest write everything on, make a flowchart on paper, take a screenshot of it or a photo of it, and then upload to GitHub. Okay. So I have 3 minutes here. So what I'll do is I'll publish to GitHub. Public. Okay, not this one. Um. Okay, let me do this afterwards. Okay, I'll publish to GitHub. So you can open a GitHub repository, your own GitHub repository. Create your Python classes for week 2. Create a folder called week 2, and then inside that you can write whatever you want. And I hope you will get as many errors as possible, because that is when you will learn when an error comes what you have to do. Okay.
Mm.
Try reading the error message. So for example, if I, for example, remove this colon, it will throw an error. Okay. It says expected here, this thing. So where is it expecting? It actually gave me an arrow mark saying it is expected here. So I should come
Mhm.
something here. Or
So
for
I should
example,
start the whatever I should start with definition, right?
any function you write, you have to define it first. If you have to use it, you have to tell what it is first, because Python will not
Okay.
know what it is.
Like I will say define calculator.
Yes.
Then input means you have to input let then.
Number one, number two, operation. These are the three inputs. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now write whatever you want, you can write. Or,
So in
okay.
place of number one, number two operation, I can write input one, input two like that, or
Yes, you can write whatever you want, as I said. Input
okay.
1, input 2, input 3. This is also works, but it's confusing for you. What is input 3? How is it different from input 1? If I say number 1, number 2, number 3 or operation, I know the third one is an operation which is different from number. So here numbers are expected, here an operation is expected.
Okay, so number one plus calculator, number one plus and number two is equals to like
No,
I'm
how
not
will you? Operation is I'll say add. So when I call a function, what I'll do? Calling a function, I'll say calculator. Okay, 2 comma 3 comma add. Okay, or
okay.
calculator 2. Okay, so 10 comma 8 comma subtract.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'll say calculator 5 comma 2 comma multiply. Okay, calculator 10 comma 3 comma divide. Okay, all of this should work if you write the code correctly.